All right, guys, just letting you know too that we just started recording, and Lily can just edit all this extra chat if she wants to ever post it. I'll just move this down here. Yeah, and so welcome to the Wednesday night, December 27th chat, which we're just kind of filling in for Brother Rick and Lily, and we can just do kind of an open chat, and I guess kind of to start it off, I will just kind of talk a bit about where my studies and understandings have been at lately. I'd say probably in the last month or so. And while I'm not saying that word studies or things like that are not important, for me, I guess it's just kind of after coming out of that whole anti-Pauline trap, and then really getting back into the writings of Paul, and along with some other projects and studying. For me, it's just seeing the deep spiritual writing of Paul, and not only that, just the revelations, I guess you could call it, out of that, which led me to, just really trying to, dig deeper into I guess you could almost say supernatural ratings, or but the deeply spiritual stuff. And in my understanding, and I'll talk a little bit about it later on, but in my understanding, on a level, I believe that Paul is telling us, or what I'm weaning out of it is, in a lot of his writings, he's speaking and directing only towards the very elect. So I've been kind of looking into that, and I'll just be putting it out there in hopes that there's some of our people that are doing the studying and the work, and maybe they can help us. But just for an example, and as soon as I figure out how to minimize this, there we go. I'll just start in Revelation. And I promise that this will get back to what I was saying to there earlier. But I'm not going to go into any deep dives or word studies here. This is not about that. But I'll pick it up in Revelation chapter 17. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now you've got to kind of look into, and I guess we can do it here. We have to identify the whore, and we're going to identify some other indications here. So it's a feminine. I'll just minimize this. I guess feminine doesn't really mean anything. A strumpet, figuratively an idolater, a harlot, or a whore. Then you go to the base, a debauchee, a fornicator, a whoremonger. But this here, it's going to be very important coming up, the idolater. So the whore that sitteth upon many waters, the great whore, to the great idolater, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now, while fornication can mean, the sexual context, here too, we're talking about, if you look down here, the harlot, to indulge unlawful lust, or figuratively, to practice idolatry. So the whore, that great idolater, with whom the kings of the earth had committed idolatry, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. We're not going to go too deep into this, but I urge people to go in and study. There's lots of good books out there. Again, I'll mention the Two Babylons. It talks a lot about the early paganism. We're going right back to, and it's important here, we're going right back to ancient Babylon, and go in and study the symbology and the history. The history of the Babylonian system. And you'll find it was all about idolatry. And when you read and you study into Revelation, you understand that John is talking about here the birth of that great idolater in the world today, the Roman Catholic Church. Right? That is the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed great idolatry, and the inhabitants of the earth, the inhabitants of the world, have been made drunk. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at that word drunk. Right, to get drunk. Intoxicated, right? The people of the, or just think of this time of the year. The entire world right now for these next couple of weeks is intoxicated with the idolatry and the paganism that is this time of the year, the Christmas season. Get in there and study that and find out the origins of Christmas, right? That's a whole other talk within itself. But the people of the kings of the earth have committed idolatry. The great rulers of this world, all tied into the Roman Catholic Church and the papal system, which go down that rabbit trail, excuse me, and you'll find it leads to one place. The world is drunk with that Babylonian Satan worship system right now. So that's what's being identified here. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-covered beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and the 10 horns. We can get right into just that verse alone someday and find out what those 7 heads are. And it's all going, we're being witness to here that he's identifying the Roman Catholic Church, which sits on the foundation of satanic, Babylonian, sun worship, paganism. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet cover and decked with gold and precious stones, and the pearls having a golden cup in her hand. Get into studying that cup. You'd be surprised what's you'll be identified at the end of it. Full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornications. And upon her forehead, not only is, we're going to see here, we'll just read it first. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon. Remember, we said the 2 Babylons, right? There's ancient Babylon. Nimrod really was started by his father, Cush. Nimrod, the father of Tammuz, very important. What's going on in the world right now. But upon her forehead was written Mystery Babylon. All right, that's different from ancient Babylon. Mystery Babylon, very important. Mystery. From a derivative, to shut the mouth, a secret, right? So it's not just a mystery of the, of a detective trying to solve a homicide right here. It's secret. A secret through the idea of silence imposed upon the initiation into religious rites. Now I'm going to read that again. From the derivative, to shut the mouth, a secret or quote, mystery through the idea of silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. All right. So that early Babylonian system morphed into this mystery, right? Now you think about what's going on in the world right now, and really since the beginnings of time. But it's coming to the light right now, right? Secret societies. These are not, unless you're saying that the words of Yahweh are quote unquote a conspiracy theorist. We're being told here, right around 100 years post crucifixion. This is not a long time. That these are things that have already been told and prophesized, right? It's not a conspiracy theory. So Mystery Babylon, the great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Get in there and study that. Mystery Babylon, and mother too, right? You'll find, just think right now, the Virgin Mary. Who is worshipped? The Virgin Mary, quote unquote, the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus right now. The mother and the son. Samaris and Tammuz, who was born of a quote unquote immaculate conception, right? The mother of harlots, right? That great whore, the mother of harlots and abominations. Think of the things that the paganistic Roman Catholic Church has spawned, right? Protestants, Anglicans, Christianity. And we're going to get to that in a second. Christianity. So there, he's identifying the Roman Catholic Church and the Mystery Babylon system that sprung out of ancient Babylon, or was perfected, I suppose. And now it's a mystery. Then Babylon was the greatest empire in the known world, and everybody flocked to Babylon to worship the government for safety, because it wasn't safe outside Babylon's walls. Inside was, orgies, shelter, work, indulge all your deviancies and your degeneracies. It's the exact same as the world today. But everybody knew to it, and many of our people flocked to it. But now, it's gone deep undercover, and it's hidden, and it's mystery. It's a mystery. It's a secret. But it's really a mystery too, because I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but my whole life I've tried to figure out what's really going on, and nothing made sense. Yeah, it was a mystery. But we can get more into that. But to lead where we were going, we're not going to go into this full chapter. It's not a study about that. But that important word, mystery. Let's see. I believe it's 2 Timothy chapter 2. And Give me a second here. Second Timothy is one of those everybody likes to quote. 2 Timothy 2:15 to study to show thyself approved, but if you go into it further on that chapter, a lot of good things are being said. And if you'll just give me a second. Yeah. I'll get back to that. Yeah, we'll just go back to Revelation here for a second. So we talked about that the mystery. Just trying to figure out how I get back into. Sorry there, guys. My screen kind of froze up here. There. We're back into Revelation chapter 17. And so we identified that that mystery. And as the book carries on, it talks about the now this is an important part. It talks about the Lamb, when the Lamb returns in the second advent. The Lamb shall overcome them. These people that are warring against them. The Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Messiah of Messiah and the Kings of Kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen. Now remember that name, mystery, and chosen and faithful. All right, chosen. And I just want to take a look at that word. And at any time, if anybody has anything that they want to, Missy, if you want to chime in at any time, by all means.
No, I'm just gonna listen to you. You're doing good so far.
Yeah, so we found out that the Lamb was going to go. The Lamb was going to go to war with the chosen, and they were going to defeat all these people that would rise up against the Messiah when he upon his return. And John is amazed, the people at his second coming, those that will be there. I'm not talking about the elect, but those that are going to witness this. And when they realize what they've done, they're going to be amazed. How could this have happened? And it says here, for Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. All right? And remember that. Why didn't these people rise up against, why did these people turn themselves, and their lives and this world and this society over to this mystery Babylon, right? This secret society. And you also got to ask yourself, I know I do all the time, why aren't our people waking up? Right? Why aren't we rising up en masse and stopping this? Why through the courses of history, since we first came out of Egypt, well, we can go right back to the fall in the garden, but we'll keep it simple. From our exodus under, slavery by Pharaoh, which we know that Yahweh allowed to happen, so his name would be glorified. He did that so his name would be glorified and revered and feared amongst his people and throughout the world. They would know his greatness. All right. So he allowed that. He did that to happen. He made that happen as part of his plan. So now we look and, and I know, say to myself all the time, like, why didn't we, fully clean out the Canaanites? Or why did this person fall? Or, why did this person do that? Because his word has to be fulfilled. All right. So at the second advent, people are going to be like, why did we allow this to happen? And we're being told, for Yahweh hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. All right. Which to me, sounds and looks like a second witness. Again, the more you read it, the more you study it, probably one of the most important chapters within the scriptures, anyway, at least in my opinion, and one of the most fear-inducing, I guess, but also I find that you take comfort in it, I guess, when you understand that he's behind this. He's doing this. He just told us in Revelation, and we'll pick it up in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 6. And now ye know that what withholdeth, that ye might be revealed in his time. For the mystery, right? How many times have you asked yourself, how have these people, they're going out there and they're participating in all of these stuff, Pride Week, and taking to their children to that, families falling apart left and right, mongrelization, and when you are quickened, you see it everywhere. But Paul's speaking, this is one of those ones where I talked about layers, multiple ones, right? Obviously, Paul is saying at this time, I don't have the date in front of me. It's very early. And as I was studying more, Paul's, his is amongst the most earliest writings, right? So let's see if we can find the date. I'm not exactly sure. I know it's not that long after the crucifixion. He's telling us right there, for the mystery. Picture how frustrating it is at this time. We think it's frustrating now. We're talking a couple of decades after the Messiah's murder. Pictures how frustrating to see how fast that Babylonian system, that satanic system, boom, sprung right out, and just like a mind trap on our people, and just like our people under a mind trap right now. And he's saying, to the Thessalonians, for the mystery, that same mystery Babylon, look it up, of sin does already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then we shall see that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit out of his mouth and destroy. We've been through this quite a few times, right? When that wicked shall be revealed, in verse 8, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So we're talking about, remember, multiple layers, the brightness of his coming. The brightness of his coming. At this point, this is post-crucifixion, so perhaps he's talking about the second advent, right? He's going to snap them out of it with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the work of Satan, with all power and size and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of truth, that they might be saved. Say that again, no truer words. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, he's telling us, remember, this is the book of the generations of Adam. This is the book of our race. Because, so obviously it's not going to be, everybody's not going to be saved. Them that perish, because why? Because they received not the love of the truth. How many of our people right now, and even some of those that, claim to be awake to the Father's word, they receive not the love of the truth, right? You have to want to study and go deeper. They haven't received that love. They haven't received that thirst, that hunger for his word, that they might be saved. And for this, Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they might all, who? Those that receive not the love of truth, with all the deceivableness of unrighteousness. That mystery of iniquity, right? And for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned, who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. So even then, right away, a few decades after the crucifixion, the mystery of sin, right? The mystery, remember the two Babylons, ancient Babylon, mystery Babylon. Again, Paul's talking about mystery Babylon. We see that coming up, and it started out very quickly. Why? And why are our people still spitting in the face of our Father today? And doing so with all the pride and ego and self-righteousness that they think they're doing good. And why are they doing this? Why is the Father allowing this to happen? Remember, when those people snap to at the end and they say, how did we let this happen? John's being told it's being allowed to happen in order to fulfill the words of Yahweh. He's letting it happen, and he has let it happen. Why? To fulfill his words. And what has he done? He's put them under a strong delusion, a spell. So they will fulfill the words, so they will fulfill Yahweh's words. And it's frustrating. And I don't know about anybody else, but I don't have the ability to break Yahweh's delusion. Although we try to witness to people, let him who hath ears to hear, hear. Right? Not everybody, we're being told, has the ears to hear. And if you go back and you study the Gospels, and you'll realize that the Messiah was not only addressing the Edomite and the mongrel, but he was also addressing people of our race. And not every one of them, in fact, the vast majority of them, did not hear his words. Why? Because they have to fulfill the words of the Father. And they love not the truth. Or because they received not the love of the truth. There's a huge difference there. All right? It's not saying because they didn't love the truth. It says because they received not the love of truth. They weren't given the love of truth. What is the love of truth? I am the way, the truth, and the light. Get in there and study that. It's a very important word to also study too. It's quickened, right? To me, it's starting to sound like Paul is whittling it down a little bit more to a bit of a finer base. That I guess from my understanding, it's running parallel, with the narrow way, right? It would appear to me that a lot of our people, in order to fulfill the words of Yahweh, I'm starting to find out that they're not receiving as many gifts as others. I guess they received not the love of truth. It wasn't within them to rightly divide the truth. To Timothy, right? Study to show thyself approved. Don't be ashamed to rightly divide the truth. Now let's go over to Ephesians. And I believe it's chapter 3. Remember that Paul talked about that mystery here. The mystery of iniquity doth already work. It was already rocking and rolling, and it never really stopped, right? Ooh, look what the King James titles this chapter. The mystery. The mystery? So we're being told something here. The mystery of the gospel revealed. All right? I don't know who put that title on it, but I'm sure they weren't on the level that we are at. Because remember, Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, this is the book of the generations of Adam, of Adam, of those that show blood in the face. Look at who. For this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Yeshua Messiah, for you, the Gentiles, and if you're farthest along, you know who the Gentiles are, right? The Gentiles are those of us out there at this time, and even out there now, paganizing, have not received the word. We could talk about that but I encourage everybody to go study Gentiles and every other word that you can. If ye have heard the dispensation of the grace of Yahweh, which is given me to you, ward, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I have afore in few words Ooh, let's see what Paul is telling us. He's telling us the exact same thing we were told before. A secret, a mystery, right? Through the idea of silence imposed by initiation into religious rites. There we go again, right? Now, just quickly for anybody else that wants to go take a deeper study the letter and then study, go into Revelation and read what the Messiah is saying about the church in Ephesus, right? And you'll start putting the two and two together, all right? You'll find out, you'll start studying the Nicolaitans, right? The mystery, these secret societies. Go in and study Babylon, ancient Babylon, and how initiation, right? It's going to lead you down a rabbit hole into the Dark Ages in history. You'll see this running through the courses of time. For us that are seeking the narrow way, you have to start going supernatural too, all right? Then you'll start to see Deuteronomy chapter 32 in a new light, the 82nd Psalm, all right? There are more, in my understanding, supernatural forces at play in this world than there are physical forces, ever will be, and far more powerful. But anyway, again, how that by revelation he made known unto me, the prisoner of Yeshua Messiah. The Messiah made known unto Paul the mystery, right? As I wrote afore in a few words, whereby when ye read, ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Messiah, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of man, and it is now revealed unto his apostles and prophets by the Spirit. Very important. Excuse me. When we're going to start tying into the elect here in a few minutes, I promise, and then I guess we'll open it up for comments or whatever. Remember, Paul talked about there in 2 Thessalonians too. He seemed to indicate that this was for a time later on, at the coming of the Messiah, right? That was written post-crucifixion, so he's addressing something in the future. But verse 5 here, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. By the Spirit, these men were given that infilling of the Spirit, remember, after the crucifixion. When we talk about, what's called Pentecost in Acts. They were given certain things, right? They were given certain pieces, revelations. All right? So Paul is telling us that he was given a revelation into this mystery. That the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body and partakers of the promise in Messiah by the gospel. It's also another good story, or not a good story, a good study, which I'm only early on into, is trying to see a difference between the children of the promise and the children of Yahweh, which kind of leads me to the elect thing that I'm going to be talking about. But just to tie in this whole mystery. Unto me, who am I less than the least of all saints. And this grace given that I should preach among the Gentiles. Remember, Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. Trying to get the word to as many ears that are supposed to hear, because remember, the Father puts into the hearts and minds things that he wants for his children, for his people to fulfill his words, right? To fulfill his plan. So I'm just going to go right down here to, yeah. So we got Paul again talking about the mystery, and now we're starting to see, and remember that Messiah, we talked about Revelations, was going to go to war with those of that Babylonian system in the second advent, and he was going to go to war with the chosen, right? Now, Paul is also giving an indication too that there were some who did not get that love of truth, right? They weren't quickened. They weren't provided with that, I guess. Provided with that. Remember, those who eat my bread will never hunger, or those who drink this water will never thirst. Now, 2 Timothy 2:10. We're going to go back to that, and then I'll wrap it up, and we can open it up for comments. 2 Timothy 2:10. Remember, we were in 2 Timothy there earlier. So I just kind of said this to the end. We're coming up, when you look at it in this context, most people don't address what's going on before it. Now, Paul was talking about the suffering that he had to endure, and the suffering that he was still enduring, in the persecution by those thorns, remember? Those thorns that Paul talks about, thorns in his sides. The same thorns, the same people that Yahweh told us if we didn't drive those Canaanites out, that they would spring up as thorns and bristles. We're being addressed by that Canaanite race, right? So Paul was being persecuted then. He makes a statement right here in 2 Timothy 2:10. Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake. Now, you go to do a word study on that, and you'll see. I don't know why it's not coming up here. But yeah, let's see if it pops up. There you go. 15 from the Greek, 1588, electos, right? From 1586, select, by implication, favorite, chosen, elect, right? Paul's making a statement saying, therefore therefore I endure all things for the chosen one's sake, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in Messiah Yeshua with eternal glory. Right? We're going to stop it here shortly, and hopefully sometime when I get it all together more, we're going to go down and trace this. For me, it's starting to manifest as a theme, or perhaps the most important theme, all the way through, which kind of lines with, I guess, what Brother Rick was talking about, as this being a training ground for the elect, to prepare them for his second advent, and the millennial reign with him. But yeah, I guess we'll just kind of leave it there, because we can start going off into a very lengthy other discussion on this. So I'm just going to bring this up, and we're going to end that there, and I'll just kind of open it up and see if anybody has any comments. About anything.
Hey, Gern.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
So, recently, I'm still very much a student. I wouldn't consider myself milk fed at this point, but a little bit past that, and always willing to learn. I'm faced with the proposition of telling some people about the good news and everything else, and
Yeah.
but there's they think that the Messiah, Yeshua Messiah, is the Father, that he and God are the same person, which is, I don't believe that. I believe that they are separate entities. That's number one. Number two, I want to know exactly what Messiah nailed to the cross. Because, again, the contention is that basically everything is nailed to the cross. The food laws and everything else, the feasts, the Sabbath. Now, I understand that the Sabbath was made for man, and not for the Sabbath. So, at what point do you hold the line, the old covenant into the new covenant? What's your feeling on number one, Messiah is the Father, are one and the same entity, and then number two, we'll get into that later. But what's your feeling on Messiah as Father?
Just give me 1 second here. That was the work. As soon as I can minimize this, I just can't see my mouse. Oh, there it is. All right, so we're told that no one has seen the Father. So we have one witness from the Messiah saying that. In the beginning was the Word. We're here in 1 John, and the Word was with Yahweh, and the Word was Yahweh. So there's and then the second verse, the same, the Word. Now, we've all done many studies on that. Debar, it goes back to the spokesperson, right? The spokesperson, the same one who manifested with Abraham and ate with him. Again, no one has seen Yahweh. But even alone right here, sorry about that, guys. In the beginning, just give me 1 second here. We just have somebody showing up at the door here. Just give me a second, I'll just mute it.
Did Isaiah see Abba Father, or did he see Debar Yahweh?
Nobody has seen him, right? But yeah, just give me 1 second. So yeah, in the beginning was the Word was with Yahweh. The Word was in the beginning with Yahweh. All things were made by him. Again, referring to the Word. All things are made by him, and without him, not anything was made. So we're also getting told that not only was the Word, Debar Yahweh, with Yahweh, but that he was given charge over creating. He was giving charge over. It's the same as, if you look at any, I don't want to compare the Father's Word, I guess, to a organizational chart, right? At the top. Psalm 82nd, we're told that not only was Debar Yahweh, a creation of Yahweh, but also that there was a whole other divine council that he had created and had. In study into Deuteronomy, you'll find out some of these were actually rebelled with Satan, and that we were, some of these separate ones were given responsibilities or controlling sectors in Yahweh's world when it was divided. So it's not just Debar, but there are other things at work here. So yeah, it is a entirely separate entity. I guess it's I don't know if I would. We're told that Debar is going to be, the Messiah will be seated at the right hand of the Father, right? I guess I look at him as carrying out, having, whatever authority, all authority. We're told when he's going to be here for the millennial reign, that he's going to be, and not only then, but now has complete control of this kingdom. It's all under his control. I guess for me, and back in my early studying, I went through that phase too, where, Yahweh, it was Yahweh in the flesh, right? He was, I guess, but it never made sense to me if he manifested here, who was in control of everything? I don't know. It just does not seem. I don't want to go too deep, but it just does not seem to me that would be possible. And it just never fit into, especially John. For me, as I studied it more and more and more, I found that it was taken out of context so many things, so many times. There's so many witnesses, or not witnesses, but so many times, I guess, that he's telling us. But yeah.
And
sorry.
what about praying to Yeshua Messiah instead of the Father?
Sorry. At least in my understanding, we're told that the only way to the Father is through the Messiah. When I pray, I ask the Father in the name of Yeshua Messiah. And I also personally, for myself, follow it up. We're told also how to pray too. We're given our Father. So I try to, end it and praise him with that. But the Messiah tells us, ask anything in my name, and you'll receive. So, I always pray to the Father, and ask for, I'll ask in the name of Yeshua Messiah for more infilling of the Spirit, or something to that extent.
So, and finally, what in your opinion, and through your studies, has been nailed to the cross or the stake?
You mean like was the Messiah nailed to a cross, or hung in a tree?
It was the law nailed to the stake? Was the feasts nailed to the stake? Was the food laws and everything that I think the apostate Christians believe that
absolutely not.
Everything was nailed to the stake, and so we have total freedom to move about somehow.
In my understanding, the only thing was the animal sacrifices. But we're told that that never pleased Yahweh. It was more of a punishment, in my understanding. But not one jot or tittle shall pass from the law.
That's the whole premise.
The whole premise of Christianity. We talked about there. I don't know if you were listening in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and in Revelation chapter 17, that our people were put under a strong delusion, which manifested from paganism, Satanism, Babylon. That's self-indulgence. That everybody is saved by grace. That they're no longer under the law. You go ahead and sin, do whatever you want. Let's have some homosexual or transgender pastures. Let's go out and mongrelize the Holy See out of existence. All of these things are forgiven. All you got to do is call on the name of Jesus Christ on your deathbed, and all is forgotten. No, like we're told that we are. We're no longer under the penalty of death for some of these things. Well, I shouldn't say that. But if we turn back to our Father, and I will put my laws in their minds, and my name in their hearts, or I could have it mixed up. We are 100% still. We are commanded under the penalty of death to obey our Father's feasts, his calendar, because how else are we supposed to figure out his feasts? All of these things, we were to carry on the Passover through all of our generations. We are not to mix the Holy See. All of these things, there's nowhere in there that in my studying has he said, this is null and void now. Animal sacrifices, the Messiah was the last sacrifice. That's my understanding. For repentance of sin, I should say. That we can just go. That was rated of the. With the Messiah. But as far as that, no, in my understanding, we are supposed to be, and Satan knows that, and that is that strong delusion. That's why we're going through what we're going through now, and we've always suffered is because of our disobedience.
So when we're praying in His name, Yeshua Messiah's name. We're not are we praying to him, or are we praying, or is he our intermediary?
Yes. So I'll usually start a prayer with Father Yahweh. I come to you in the name of Yeshua Messiah, and ask for some more understanding, or some even a prayer for somebody else that's going through some stuff. But yeah, I'll say, Father, I come to you, Father Yahweh, I come to you in the name of Yeshua Messiah. Something like that. That's just me, though.
Right. Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I just, I'm getting pelted left and right about some things where he just staked, everything was nailed to the stake.
Yeah.
Mike, if I may say, I have a little picture with several passages in the scripture where it says, "If you love me, you'll keep my commandments." Okay, and I'm looking for it. I'm going to post it on the chat. And lots of them are in the New Testament, because their argument is that the law was put away when he was crucified. So in the New Testament, you do not have to obey the law, because you live under grace. So, but all this, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. There's lots of them in the New Testament. I'm looking for it right now, so that should help you out.
Yeah, thanks, Miss.
And if you look, you'll also throughout the history of our people, at least in my studying and my understanding, the great majority were seduced with. This is just something, it's the same old rebranded. We're always seduced with comfort and a mass quote unquote religious system that gives us everything we need. Yeah, comfort, self-righteousness, but also indulgences, and give us a couple of laws that we can, let's not call them laws, that we can say we're obeying at face value, but also, give us a lifestyle and a reality that allows us to indulge. And if you look at that, most of it always centered around sun worship, which we know is, Nimrod, and it all comes back to the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, right? It all comes back to the devil behind the curtain, and that's how it hooks us. It allows us. It gives us that sense of that we're doing something good, but we're also not having to give up too much, when that is 180 degrees contradictory to our Father, who wants us to worship Him. And He's given us our laws for this is His perfection for His world. And, we were put here as administrators. And if we're not going to keep it, why should anybody else?
Hey, Gern, go to Colossians 2:16.
A second here. Yep.
14.
All right. Can you guys still see my page?
No. We see your computer screen.
Now you can see it, eh? All right. All right, so let's pick it up a little bit back.
Right.
14.
Uh, as ye therefore received Messiah Yeshua, so walk ye in him, rooted and built up and stabilized. Abound therein with thanksgiving. Lest any man, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the tradition of men, right? After the tradition of men, the tradition of the elders. I don't know if we talked about if you were here and we talked about earlier with Paul talking about the mystery, right? Mystery Babylon, mystery of iniquity, right? These secret societies. Literally what it means, right? Initiated societies. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the tradition of men, the tradition of elders born out of that Babylonian system. After the rudiments of the world, and not after Messiah. For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the God of the Yahweh had both bodily. He was given that full download. And ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. Now, again, we're talking about a spiritual thing, too. That goes back to those principalities and powers in evil in high places. Again, we're talking about those demons, right? Those other entities. The Messiah is the head of them all. In whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Messiah. Buried with him in baptism, where also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of Yahweh, who hath raised him from the dead. And you being dead in your sins. Now we're talking about salvation, right? And another thing, we're talking about the law, right? And you being dead in your sins. In other words, if you don't come around to the Messiah, that's the only way to salvation. That's the only way, the repentance and the faith in and turning to the Word, the Messiah, that's the only way to get you out of what your destiny ultimately will be, because you are dead in your sins, right? And you're punishable by death under the law. Or you can turn around and start putting on the mind of the Messiah and putting that new wine in that new body and start walking straight and seeking that narrow way. And the uncircumcision of your flesh, remember, flesh, the things of this world, the sins, all of those things that the Babylonian system, tickles and allows us to do, commit sin. Hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven all your trespasses, if you turn to, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. So to me, that's saying he was that last sacrifice, and that blotted out, if we turn to the Messiah and become that new wine and that new skin and change from that Romans 7 man into that Romans 8 man and start walking and start living under his laws, and seeking righteousness, then, because all of our the handwriting of the ordinance that were against us. We were on a course of doom. And, you know, even in this day, our people are still they're under that strong delusion. They're on that path towards their damnation. Because they are still under that punishment of the law, because they are still out there daily, not trying to be righteous. So they, their destiny is set out for them. And he took that out of the way for us, for his very elect, which I believe, nailing it to his cross, being symbolic of his sacrifice for us. And having spoiled principalities and powers, now you got to go research that some more, having spoiled the plans of, those principalities and powers and their plan to just get Yahweh's people to live a life of sin, because he is a righteous and just judge and father, that he has to, and that was one of their plans, was to commit our whole race to sin, right to damnation. Messiah spoiled that. He made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. He's telling us he spoiled their plans up until that point. Take a supernatural journey into those days. What happened in, how much is true, or faith in its entirety of it. The Gospel of Nicodemus is a good source for that. But having spoiled the principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them. So let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of any holiday or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days. That's what he's telling them. He's writing this letter to the Colossians, right? He's telling them, the Messiah, you're turning to him now. I know you're out there and you're amongst people that this is the early days, guys. The mystery of iniquity doth already work. Our people were being persecuted right out of the gate after the crucifixion. He's giving them reassurance. He's giving them comfort. He's letting them know what the Messiah has done for them. He foiled their plans. He's the only way to salvation. Therefore, if you're out there with a bunch of other people and they're looking at you, he's telling us, he's telling me right now too. If I celebrate the Sabbath on, from sunset Wednesday to sunset Thursday this week, let no man judge me in meat. Let no man judge me because I don't eat pork. Or let no man judge me because, I'm not going out sucking down 24 of beer a night. Or let no man respect or in any respect of any holiday. I don't care if my family judges me because I don't participate in the paganism that is December 25th, or because I follow a calendar of the moon or the Sabbath days. And he's saying, these are only a shadow of the things to come. These are only a pittance of what's in store. So, I hope I didn't drag on too long, but that's kind of my understanding of that. I hope that answers your question, or maybe you have another something, Mike.
So the meat and drink and respect to holiday and new moon, Paul is not suggesting that we put those things away.
No, he's telling us, let nobody judge you, therefore, for your dietary, or, let nobody judge. He's telling me, the sacrifice that the Messiah made for us to give us a salvation out of, a dead end. And he's glorifying by telling, that he spoiled their plans and he bears them openly. And he's telling the Colossians, and he's also telling us today too, that, as you are walking as you are coming around to the laws of the Father, which you are supposed to be doing, let no man judge you for what you eat, for what you drink. Let no man judge you in respect of your holy days, or of your calendar, or of your Sabbaths. And he's telling us these are only a shadow of the things to come.
Sorry, Gern. Keep going. Read down a little bit more.
Yeah, let no man beguile you of your reward in voluntary humility and of worshiping angels, intruding into those things which he had not seen, vainly puffed up of his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands, having nourishment ministered and knit together, increaseth with the increase of Yahweh. Wherefore ye be dead with Messiah. Wherefore, if ye be dead with Messiah from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are you subject to ordinances? All right, so is that far enough, or should we go over
Then it
that? Or
says, touch not, taste not, handle not.
touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. Sorry there, Mike. I just got to go address something.
That's okay.
Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, sorry about that. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or drink, or in respect of a holy day, or the moon, or the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come. But the body is of Messiah. So we're talking about the body. So, right, we're talking about the body of the church, I guess, not the church of wood, stone, and clay, but the body, the for lack of a better term, I guess, the kingdom, the body of the center is of the Messiah, which are a shadow of the things to come, but the body is of Messiah. Let no man beguile you, let no man seduce you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not the holding of the head, from which all the body, by the joints and the bands, having nourishment ministered and knit together, increaseth with the increase of Yahweh. So, again, we identified that the body is of the Messiah. So he's going to be the head of this body. And to me, verse 18 is saying, let no man seduce you of your reward. Let no man, remember we're talking about the ordinances, and we have to turn towards the Messiah. That's our only way to salvation. Because our Father being just and a righteous judge, also, well, probably most importantly, well, he is punishing those that are not under his law, not living and operating according to what we're supposed to be. The Messiah was that sacrifice to cleanse away, not put away the law, just for those that turn to him are not under the punishment of the law, as long as they walk righteously towards him. All right? Telling us not to let any man judge us for turning to that narrow way. And then we're told it's only a shadow of the things to come. But the body is of Messiah. So the Messiah is the head of that. Let no man seduce you out of your reward. With voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, right? So he's telling us, don't let anybody seduce you out of that. Don't go whoring after, we talked about earlier, those traditions of men, those traditions of elders, puffed up, vainly puffed up by a fleshly mind. Not the mind of the Messiah, but a fleshly mind. And not holding the head, from which all of the body by joints and bands having nourishment ministered and knit together increases with the increase. So remember, the Messiah is the head. So he's saying, let no man seduce you with any kind of a reward. We talked about that earlier. Remember that reward? That 3.6 billion Christians are going out there now. You live your hedonistic life with your idolatry, your idolatrous ways that give you a little bit of righteousness or a feeling of righteousness, but let you indulge, right? Worship Jesus Christ. Don't worship the Messiah. How many people have given up their reward because they've been beguiled or seduced by things of a fleshly mind? Voluntary humility, right? We're not talking real humility, we're talking voluntary humility. And not holding the head, right? They don't have the head. Who is the head? The Messiah, Yeshua Messiah. I come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. But another will come in their own name, and them you will receive. They're not holding the head out there. He's telling us of which the entire church, the entire body is nourished. Am I kind of, I don't know. That's my understanding so far.
Yeah,
Anyway.
no, I'm with you. John 10. If you could go to John 10.
The Gospel of John or the book
The Gospel of John.
Chapter 1, verse 10 or?
Chapter 10, I believe.
Oh, chapter 10.
Yeah, it says in one of the verses, I and my Father are one.
Yeah. I think we talked about that the other night, and Brother Rick gave a pretty good explanation of it, but
Do you have the Reader's Digest version of it?
I could give it to you. Basically, remember, he's the spokesman, right? Let's go into, because it's very important.
I mean, I view it as that I and the Father are one, but they're in one accord. They're two separate people, but they're in one accord with each other.
Bingo. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
The deniers of that who think that Messiah is God,
Yeah.
they don't like that one.
So, for me, if I ever had to show it, or explain to somebody, right? So I just brought up Genesis 15:1, right? And these things, the word of Yahweh came, remember, no one has seen the Father. After these things, the word, that same word, dabar, right? 1697, he came unto Abraham. Now let's go into, the if you ever have to, I guess, or you know, you go into it, right? Appointed, commands, right? Declare, destroy, all of these things. Think of, he sent the angels to destroy. He's given commandments, appointments, promises, all of these things. He's a spokesman, Debar. He's the word of Yahweh. Now, we talked about that, in my rudimentary description, an organizational chart, right? So exactly, when he's saying, I and the Father are one, I and the Father are of one accord. I've come in my Father's name. How many times did the Messiah tell me? These are not things that I'm saying to you. These are things that my Father has given me to say to you, right? I and the Father are one. In other words, I'm speaking for him. So you've got it exactly right. We are one accord. You hear me? I'm speaking for him. I'm speaking for the Father. This is the word, right? I'm his word. So yes, I and the Father are of one accord. Exactly the right way to say it.
The Yeshua Messiah is the only one that sits on the throne, or does the Abba Father sit on a throne, or is that a literal throne, or an idea of the throne? Because in Isaiah 6, verse 1, it says that I saw Yahweh sitting on a throne high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the Hekal. I have the ISR. I think you do too.
And 100%. That he's seated. He is seated at the right hand of the Father, right? And we're told that his earthly throne too is not going to. It's never going to end. 100%. In my understanding, a literal throne that the Father is seated, like you said in Revelation.
It says, I'm sorry to interrupt, brother. I saw Yahweh sitting on a throne. Could that be right? In the year of sovereign Uzziah, in the year that sovereign Uzziah died, I saw Yahweh sitting on a throne. So is that somebody that saw him? Is that somebody who saw it? Because you said nobody saw Yahweh.
In the year King Uzziah said, I saw also the Messiah. Are we talking about the Messiah?
It says in the ISR, it says Yahweh.
Yep. I saw Yahweh sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled with the temple. Now, whether he was given a vision of some kind of form sitting on a throne, because the Messiah says, like we talked, no one has seen the Father. Whether he was given and this is just me, and I don't want to, give anything false. So, in my understanding, I guess he's giving a vision of.
Could that be because he's sitting on the throne? Could that be a improper translation, and it should say Yeshua if it was a vision of things to come?
I don't know. I don't want to.
Right.
Because it says right here, if you look up, it says properly covered or a canopied throne, right? So I don't know. Was he covered up? I have no idea. Was he given a vision of something that he could fathom? I guess. I honestly don't know. But this is being recorded, and maybe our brother Rick or somebody else might chime in. I don't want to give. It would only be my interpretation.
Right.
But yeah, it could be anything. It could be a number of things. I don't.
All right, I'll study into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could see how, and that's why I said in the chat, it's so confusing, and
Yep.
it can misguide very quickly, and if you don't have the proper context,
You know,
I
I
mean,
would,
one verse could throw you off pretty badly.
exactly, you know, and I would encourage, and like we said, there are so many thousands and thousands of known alterations, additions, deletions, mistranslations. Over 7,700 times they've taken up the name of our Father alone in the King James Version. The Word, you know, His Word is perfect and should be able to, and it does, I guess, if we're given, you know, and someday I hope to get to that point where you can see everything resolve itself. But all one has to do, that is, you know, is spend a couple of days just researching the Babylonian system, and all we see, and you know, you even see in this modalism or this Yahweh is one, this Trinity worship of that Babylonian system, right? From that started with Cush, perfected by Nimrod, but the Satan behind it the whole way of the mother and the son and the you know I guess the Holy Spirit worship, but it all focuses on the mother and the son. Look at Christianity; we're all where's Yahweh in any of that? It's the the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ, and the Messiah tells us so many times that to give all glory to the Father, right? He didn't say give all glory to me. Never. If he was Yahweh in the flesh, wouldn't he demand all glory and all praise? Whereas the Messiah is telling us, to pass all glory to the Father. So, and the system of Christianity passes all of their worship to the Mother and the Son, with a emotion rather than any kind of infilling of the Spirit from Yahweh, in my understanding, anyway.
Yeah. Well, good job tonight, brother.
Yeah. When are you going to come on and do something?
I don't think I'm ready for that. I'm not in that pay grade yet, but I'll get there.